So when it comes to the incident of Damar Hamlin, who suffered a cardiac arrest during a nationally televised football game with his team, the Buffalo Bills, many people have tried to get their 3 seconds of fame at his expense by expressing a variety of ludicrous thoughts in response to the occurrence. Now a doctor has come out and actually claimed that his injury was a result of,
don't say it, don't you dare say it.
You guessed it, racism. Hello, my name is Kyle and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about this particular asinine story of a PhD professor at Duke University who claims that this incident or injury, or whatever you want to call it, was caused by racism. Now, of course, since we're on YouTube, we can't give our official take on this. And so if you want to hear that, click on a link below in the description and it will take you over to that, a more accurate assessment of what actually transpired. But to that, we're going to talk about this particular story because, like I said before, it's just dumb. Doctor claims Damar Hamlin injury was racist, highlights the violence black men experience in football. Never mind what black men suffer in the inner cities that are controlled by Democrats. Of course, they won't mention that. There have been a lot of ridiculous opinions shared in the reaction of this incident, with plenty of people trying to gain their 3 seconds of fame. So as you can imagine, before I put this picture of this doctor on the screen, or this professor, just get a mental image of what you think she looks like. And yeah, you pretty much called that right on the nose. Her name is Tracie Canada. Last name is probably appropriate here. A cultural anthropology professor at Duke who holds a PhD, has spent her entire career researching and theorizing ideas about race. Okay. According to her bio at Scientific American, she's currently working on a book about the experiences of black college football players. Okay, we can imagine that. Let's go over to Scientific America, and here are a couple of her articles. Look at this one here. NFL's racist race norming is an afterlife of slavery. Sounds like Colin Kaepernick right there. And of course, you know, these race baiting people have no take outside of their perception that the entire world is racist, and therefore we have to conform our thoughts and our ideas in that mold so that people can come on board and accept that and acquiesce their agendas to ours or to theirs. And it's really a power grab, and it's the way she gets her money. Racism makes billions of dollars every single year, and this is a prime example of that. They want to call black conservatives grifters. Well, this is a chief grifter right here. We will get into her a little bit later in a second here. After her asinine story about how Damar Hamlin being injured is somehow racist towards black football players, it's a safe bet the book will be filled with anti-white, woke talking points to appease her private university colleagues, that being at Duke University. Canada, along with everyone else with eyes, has noticed that there are more black players in both college football and the NFL than white players. Exactly. She then used her incredible math skills to discover black players get injured more frequently than white players.
Not smart. Not smart at all.
Maybe it's because black players play more than white players. It kind of goes with the same analogy where you have people who are actually committing more crimes being the ones who are getting arrested more.
Not that difficult.
You can do the math from there, and you can kind of see my logic and train of thought, which is basic math and basic logic, of where I'm going. Obviously, Dr. Canada here has no idea about any of that, nor does she seem to have any common sense. She calls this racial stacking, and her story called Damar Hamlin's Collapse highlights the violence black men experience in football. She says, quote, "Black players are disproportionately affected, while black men are severely underrepresented in positions of power across football organizations such as coaching and management. They are overrepresented on the gridiron," she writes. Non-white players account for 70% of the NFL. Nearly half of all Division I college football players are black. Furthermore, through a process called racial stacking, coaches racially segregate athletes by playing position. These demographic discrepancies place black athletes at a higher risk during play. Okay, all right, so I know a lot of you people on this video here understand sports and all these different things, but you know what? Has she looked at the Ivy League football league and seen that? Because most of those players are white. And why is that? Probably because Ivy League football teams aren't very good, and black players who are good make teams much better. That is just a fact. Skill positions, running backs, receivers, and even tight ends nowadays, and even defensive ends and linebackers are now becoming skill positions, are running faster than they ever had before, are stronger than they've ever been before, especially when we're talking about weight conditioning and training when they're in the 6th grade, for goodness sake, their entire lives. They've been conditioning this, especially in South Florida, when the players are really playing football all year round. And what's the demographic in South Florida? Mostly black men playing football. So that's what you're gonna have. You have teams like Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, all recruiting in these areas to get these black players to help their football team win. Let's take a look at some of the past football teams of the past 10 years. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State. These teams, look at the rosters. What are you suggesting they do? Are you suggesting that they play the players that aren't very good? Is that what you're expecting? Especially when you have boosters and alumni who are expecting a team to win? This is what you have when you have these woke intellectuals coming at something they have no idea about, looking to ruin it because they have envy and because they want to jump onto a market that has a higher viewer base because they can't drum up the same kind of attention themselves. So they piggyback like a parasite into stuff like football, movies, Star Wars, anything they can get their hands on, ruin it, and then move on to something else that will make them money and give them esteem and position and power and whatever. We are really sick of this stuff, and especially this is so ridiculous, and it's becoming pretty much a joke. And I can't even believe that she even fixated herself to even write an article, let alone a future book on this. She goes on to say, while this form of entertainment has been normalized, Hamlin's injury demonstrates that ordinary violence is potentially deadly consequences and highlights how black men's athletic labor sustains this brutal system. Now, the last time I checked, no one is actually going to these people and forcing them into college to play football. No one's forcing them to play football in high school, to accept a scholarship for football, to play for free in a college, and then get drafted into the NFL and play for money, for millions of dollars. No one's forcing anyone to do this. They have a choice to do it themselves. They are doing it on their own accord. There is no coercion here. It's them on their own. Other sports have injuries across the board. Hockey has injuries all the time, but guess what? The hockey is almost 100% white. But no one's talking about that either, now are we? What isn't addressed anywhere in Canada's agenda pushing article is that football players, no matter their race, are forced to actually play football. Football players, whether they're 6 years old in high school or at the professional level, understand that they're signing up to play an incredibly violent game filled with injuries. I'm going to give Canada the benefit of the doubt and assume she knows that, but since a number on a piece of paper shows that there are more black players in the NFL than white players, then she came to the conclusion that the league and sport is racist. Dr. Canada had a public Twitter account just a few days ago, but after being called out for her story by people who possess common sense, she's made her account private. Football does highlight violence, as Canada so eloquently pointed out, but that violence affects everyone of every color and at every position. So what are your thoughts on this article? What are your thoughts on Dr. Canada and her assessment, her wokeness that, you know what, football is dangerous, and even though an overwhelmingly majority of players in football are black, they're getting injured because of racism. Okay, I can't anymore. So let me know what your opinions are in the comments below. And if you want to see a video on how wokeness can affect mental health in the negative, check out this video right here.